April 17th, 1942. A rope snaps 3 inches. A 63-year-old man dangles 150 feet above jagged rocks, blood streaming down his palms. He's clinging to bed sheets, braided together over 2 years in a Nazi cell. Above him, Königstein Fortress, the prison Hitler personally designated escape-proof. 0 successful escapes in 700 years. Walls 140 feet high and cliffs dropping 750 feet to the river. But this grandfather is about to humiliate the Third Reich. Because Henri Giraud isn't just any prisoner, he's France's highest-ranking captured general. And right now, he's 90 seconds from vanishing. When the Nazis discover his empty cell, Hitler will be so furious he'll put a 100,000 Reichsmark bounty on Giraud's head and order shoot on sight across the entire Reich. The greatest manhunt in Nazi Germany for a 63-year-old man armed with nothing but bed sheets, forged papers, and the audacity to sit in first-class train cars, surrounded by the officers hunting him. How did a limping grandfather outsmart Hitler's inescapable fortress? And what made him bold enough to mock the Nazis on his way out? Königstein is not a prison. It is a geological weapon. The fortress squats atop a sandstone mesa 240 meters above the Elbe Valley in eastern Saxony, its outer walls rising another 42 meters from sheer cliff. Built in the 13th century and converted by the Wehrmacht in 1939 into a holding facility for high-value Allied officers, the stronghold has never suffered a successful escape in its 700-year history. The statistics explain why. The only approach is a single fortified gate accessible by a narrow stone bridge. Every other direction ends in vertical rock. Guards do not bother stringing barbed wire along the ramparts. The drop handles security. Inmates call it the Sargfelsen, the coffin cliff. On foggy mornings, the fortress floats above the clouds like a stone island suspended in white nothing, its towers vanishing into mist. The Nazis tour visiting dignitaries through the grounds to demonstrate German engineering supremacy. Escape-proof, they boast. Even gravity obeys the Reich. Henri Giraud arrives at Königstein on June 2, 1940, 13 days after his capture near the Belgian border. He is not a common prisoner. At 61, he commands the French 7th Army and holds the rank of 4-star general. The Wehrmacht snatched him on May 19th during the chaotic retreat at Le Catelet, when his staff car drove into a German patrol. Goebbels milks the propaganda for weeks. France's most decorated field commander now a trophy behind German bars. Hitler himself reportedly requests updates on Giraud's detention and orders that the general be held in maximum security conditions. The commandant at Königstein receives explicit instructions from Berlin. This prisoner does not leave. Ever. The general limps into the yard with a cane. A bullet wound from 1914 never healed properly. His left knee clicks with every step. He is tall, over 6 feet, broad-shouldered, and carries a silver mustache waxed to needle points. He looks like a man built for cavalry charges, not prison escapes. The guards see a relic. They grant him courtyard privileges, garden strolls, even German language tutorials to occupy his time. Why not? The walls are 42 meters high. The cliffs are 240 meters down. What could this creaking old soldier possibly do? Sprout wings and glide to Switzerland? Giraud asks no questions. He walks the perimeter every afternoon, nodding to sentries, pausing at overlooks. To observers, he appears to be savoring fresh air. He is mapping. He notes the watchtower rotations, 4 towers, 12-minute cycles. He times the searchlight sweeps, 6 lights, 180-degree arcs, overlapping coverage except during the 1:47 to 1:58 afternoon shift change. Every system has a flaw. Königstein's flaw is geometry. The northwest bastion juts outward from the main wall, blocking sightlines from the nearest tower. For 11 minutes each afternoon between the shift changes, that section of wall falls into a dead zone. No eyes, no lights, no coverage. Giraud stands at the edge and peers down. Dense forest carpets the slope below the cliff base, fir and pine so thick the ground is invisible. Beyond the trees, a road winds south toward the Swiss border, 400 kilometers away. A man could disappear into those woods, if he could reach them. The problem is obvious. Between Giraud and the forest lies 150 feet of vertical sandstone. No ladder, no rope, no equipment of any kind. He returns to his cell that evening and closes his eyes. Somewhere outside, a spider spins silk in the eaves of the old castle. Thread by thread, it builds something from nothing. Giraud smiles. He knows what he has to do. But how does a man manufacture 150 feet of rope under constant Nazi surveillance? And who will be waiting for him if he ever reaches the bottom? Every escape begins with materials. Giraud has none. What he has is time, patience, and a network of people who want him free. The International Red Cross delivers care packages to Königstein every month. Food tins, soap, cigarettes, letters from home. Each parcel arrives bound with cotton twine, regulation thickness, inspected by guards for contraband, and then handed to prisoners. Most inmates discard the binding material without a second thought. Giraud hoards every fiber. He bribes a French corporal named Lefebvre, assigned to the mailroom on work detail, with his entire cigarette ration, 2 packs per week. Lefebvre skims extra twine from incoming packages and slips it under Giraud's cell door after lights out, wrapped in newspaper to muffle the sound. Within 6 months, Giraud has accumulated nearly 200 meters of thin cord, hidden in a hollow table leg. It is nowhere near strong enough to hold a man's weight. A sharp tug would snap it like thread. But it is a foundation. If you have found this story gripping so far, tap the like button. It tells the algorithm to show this to more history lovers, and it lets me keep making these deep dives. Now back to the cell. Phase 2 is fabric. Giraud cannot steal entire bed sheets. The guards inventory linens every Tuesday, counting blankets, pillowcases, mattress covers. A missing sheet would trigger an immediate search. Instead, he harvests threads. Each night, after the 10 p.m. inspection, working by the faint glow of moonlight through his barred window, he unravels a few centimeters from the hem of his wool blanket using a bent pin. He strips lining from his coat collar, pulling fibers one at a time so the damage stays invisible. He peels threads from the stitching of his mattress cover, working the seams until they hang by single strands. The work is painstaking. 30 minutes of careful pulling yields a palmful of lint. He braids the fibers into cords, then braids the cords into rope, then braids the ropes into cable. His fingers crack and bleed. Blisters form. Calluses build over calluses. By the end of the first year, the emerging lifeline measures 38 meters and can support approximately 80 kilograms in testing. Still not enough. Giraud weighs 90 kilograms. A fall would snap the line before he cleared the first 20 feet. The solution arrives in January 1942, hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of Montaigne's essays sent from France through approved family mail. Someone, his wife, a resistance contact both, has packed the spine with copper wire no thicker than fishing line, 50 meters coiled tight and invisible to X-ray inspection. Giraud weaves the wire into the rope's core strand by strand, doubling its tensile strength. He adds wooden toggles every 3 meters for grip, carved from a broken chair rung using a sharpened spoon. He fashions a crude seat from a plank ripped from his bed frame, drilling holes with the same spoon and threading the rope through in a cradle pattern. By early April 1942, the finished product coils beneath his floorboards. 46 meters of hybrid cable, thick as a man's wrist, tested nightly by hanging from his cell's window bars until his arms give out. It holds. It holds. Hiding the rope becomes a second full-time job. Nazi guards search Giraud's cell every morning at 7 o'clock, tapping walls with truncheons, lifting mattresses, running fingers along floor seams, checking inside books and under tables. Giraud stays one step ahead. He stores the rope inside the hollowed table leg during inspections, replacing the plug with wood filler he mixes from sawdust and spit. He wraps sections around his torso beneath his coat during exercise walks, transferring coils to a drainage grate near the blind spot wall section by section over weeks. He never keeps the entire length in one location. If the guards find a piece, they might assume it is an isolated, amateurish attempt and increase surveillance without ordering a full investigation. They will not discover the whole cable. They will not realize how close their prize prisoner is to vanishing. 23 months after his arrival, Henri Giraud stands in his cell at midnight, running the coarse cable through his bleeding palms. 2 years of whispered effort, hidden in plain sight. The rope is ready. The route is mapped. The timing is fixed. But one problem remains. Königstein sits 400 kilometers inside the Reich. Even if Giraud reaches the forest floor, he will be a French general in enemy territory with no papers, no disguise, and a face plastered on wanted posters from Berlin to Munich. The rope can lower him from the wall. It cannot carry him to Switzerland. He needs allies on the outside. And the only way to reach them is through letters that Nazi censors read word by word every single day. How do you coordinate an international escape operation using nothing but sentences about the weather and your wife's rheumatism? And what happens if a censor catches even one misplaced phrase? Every outgoing letter from Königstein passes through 3 layers of review. Junior censors scan for military intelligence. Senior censors check for coded phrases. The Gestapo conducts random deep reviews, comparing letters against previous correspondence. Obvious cipher attempts trigger interrogation and solitary confinement. Giraud needs a system invisible to trained eyes, so he invents one. The method is elegant. The first letter of each sentence, read vertically, spells a secondary message embedded in otherwise banal text. To a censor, his correspondence reads like the ramblings of a homesick grandfather missing his family. Remind Aunt Helene to water the roses. Every day I think of our garden in Lyon. New buds must be forming by now. Do tell me about the weather. Each morning I wake hoping for letters. Zero news is discouraging, but I remain patient. Very soon I hope spring arrives. Our cat must be enjoying the sunshine. Under the old oak I imagine you reading. To his wife, those opening letters spell a different message. Rendezvous. Subsequent letters encode dates, locations, equipment requests. April 17. Civilian coat. Papers. North tree line. 1,400. His wife relays the messages through free French intelligence channels to London and Geneva. A resistance cell in unoccupied Vichy agrees to position a man near Königstein's base on the designated afternoon. A local sympathizer who knows the forest trails and can guide Giraud to the first safe house. The contact will carry forged documents identifying Giraud as Heinrich Schultz, a Swiss textile buyer traveling through Saxony on business. He will bring a straight razor. Giraud's distinctive mustache must disappear within minutes. He will bring civilian clothes, gray overcoat, felt hat, round spectacles, and he will carry a route map, safe houses, train schedules, border crossings charted through known Gestapo patrol patterns to a smuggler's trail into Switzerland. The plan requires synchronized timing down to the minute. Giraud descending before the contact arrives means exposure in the open. Giraud descending after the contact's departure window means abandonment. 11 minutes of dead zone coverage. That is the margin between freedom and a firing squad. By March 1942, Königstein's commandant begins tightening protocols. Extra roll calls at random hours. Surprise cell searches during meal periods. New restrictions limiting yard time to supervised walks. Giraud senses the window closing. The Eastern Front is devouring German manpower. Rumors circulate that high-value prisoners may be transferred to underground bunker facilities where escape is truly impossible. There will be no second chance. Through his coded letters, Giraud signals the final date. April 17, 1942. Moonless night approaching. Hitler's birthday celebrations 3 days later will distract regional commanders and pull security details toward Berlin. The guard rotation aligns. The contact confirms through return correspondence that he will be in position. Everything converges on one Friday afternoon. On the morning of April 17th, Giraud eats breakfast slowly, tasting each bite of black bread and ersatz coffee. He memorizes the dimensions of his cell. The scratch on the doorframe where a previous prisoner counted days, the water stain on the ceiling shaped like France, the draft from the window that whistles in east winds. He may never see this room again. Either he escapes, or he dies against the rocks below. What does it feel like to eat your last meal before gambling your life on 46 meters of bed sheets? And if the Gestapo catches him on the other side, will they bother with a trial, or simply put a bullet in the back of his head? 1:42 p.m. Giraud leaves his cell for the afternoon yard walk. Beneath his overcoat, the rope coils around his torso like a constricting snake. The wire toggles dig into his ribs with each step. He nods to a guard at the corridor checkpoint. He comments on the pleasant weather, mild for April, good for the joints. The guard grunts acknowledgement. The aging general trudges toward the northwest corner of the yard, following his usual route. Nothing suspicious. 1:47 p.m. The guard rotation begins. The tower sentry on the northwest bastion disappears around the far turret, heading for the mess hall in a 15-minute break. The wall goes dark. Giraud ducks behind the jutting stonework and retrieves the remaining rope segments from the drainage grate where he cached them over the previous week. His hands move fast, knotting sections together, checking each connection twice, testing tension. He loops the anchor line around an iron window bracket set into the fortress wall and yanks with his full weight. It holds. The bracket creaks but does not shift. 1:49 p.m. No time for hesitation. Giraud swings his legs over the parapet and lowers himself onto the wooden plank seat. The rope bites into his thighs. Below, 150 feet of vertical nothing. The forest floor is invisible through afternoon haze and shadow. He cannot see if his contact waits in the tree line. He cannot see if guards patrol the base. He exhales once, mutters a prayer to no one in particular, and releases the first length of cable. The descent begins. Hand under hand, boots scraping sandstone. The rope groans with every weight shift, fibers stretching, wire creaking inside the braid. Giraud's biceps cramp after the first 20 feet, lactic acid flooding muscles that have not climbed anything in 2 years. His shoulders scream after 40. He focuses on a rhythm, release, grip, breathe, release, and counts in German under his breath to maintain concentration. 90 Fuß, 80, 70. The wall is ancient and unforgiving. Rough stone scrapes his knees through his trousers, tearing fabric, drawing blood. Small rocks dislodge and tumble into the void. He does not look down. He cannot afford vertigo now. At the halfway point, 70 feet, the wind catches him. A gust sweeps up the cliff face and spins him outward like a pendulum. For a sickening instant, his feet lose the wall entirely. He swings free, knuckles white around the rope, stomach dropping. The cable twists, the wooden seat tilts. Giraud kicks desperately, boots scraping stone until they catch a ledge. He steadies. His heart hammers so loud he is certain the guards can hear it. 60 feet remaining. 50. Then, footsteps. Above him, on the parapet, boots clicking on stone. A guard. Giraud flattens against the rock face, pressing his cheek to cold sandstone, and stops breathing. He can hear the click of a lighter, the crackle of tobacco catching flame. The sentry is 15 meters overhead, leaning against the rampart, enjoying a cigarette during his unauthorized break. If he glances over the edge, if he drops an ash and watches it fall, it is over. Seconds stretch into hours. The cigarette hisses in the wind. Giraud's lungs burn. The boots shift. Then they pace away, fading around a corner turret. Gone. Giraud waits 3 more heartbeats before releasing his breath. Too close. 40 feet. 30. The rope thins as the final coils unspool through his bleeding palms. The wire pokes through worn fabric in places, slicing skin. 20 feet. His arms shake so violently the entire line vibrates against the rock, humming like a plucked string. 15. His boots scrape empty air, then touch earth, dirt, dead leaves, solid ground. He is down. Giraud rolls into a thicket of underbrush, yanks the rope after him to hide the evidence, and scans the tree line with burning eyes. A figure emerges from the shadows 40 meters north. Wool coat, felt hat, frightened face pale in the dim light. The contact. No words pass between them. The man rushes forward and presses a bundle into Giraud's bleeding hands. Gray overcoat, spectacles, straight razor, forged papers wrapped in oilcloth. Giraud sheds his prison jacket, shaves his mustache in under 2 minutes using water from a canteen the contact provides, and pulls the disguise over his battered frame. His reflection in the canteen's metal surface is unrecognizable. The general is gone. In his place stands Heinrich Schultz, Swiss textile buyer, slightly disheveled, entirely harmless. A siren screams from the fortress above. The alarm. Floodlights blaze to life, sweeping the cliff base in frantic arcs. Dogs bark in the distance, shepherds by the sound, trained for manhunts. The contact seizes Giraud's arm. They vanish into the pines. Can a disguise and forged papers fool the Gestapo across 400 kilometers of hostile territory? And when Adolf Hitler hears the news on the eve of his own birthday, how far will he go to drag this man back in chains? Within 3 hours, news of the escape reaches Berlin. Adolf Hitler learns during an evening briefing and erupts. Königstein was supposed to be impregnable. Now his trophy prisoner is loose, and the international press will feast on German humiliation for weeks. Hitler orders a 100,000 Reichsmark bounty on Giraud's head, enough to buy a house in any German city. He issues a shoot-on-sight directive to all Wehrmacht and SS units. Gestapo chief Heinrich Himmler mobilizes special pursuit squads drawn from counterintelligence divisions across the Reich. Roadblocks materialize on every highway out of Saxony within 6 hours. SS agents begin boarding trains, checking buses, questioning innkeepers. Every tall man with a trace of a foreign accent becomes a suspect. Giraud walks straight into the storm. Not through the woods, through first-class rail carriages crowded with German officers. His contact escorts him to a rural station 12 kilometers from the fortress, purchases 2 tickets to Leipzig, and seats the disguised general in a compartment across from a pair of Wehrmacht lieutenants returning from leave. The officers are reading newspapers. The front page carries Giraud's photograph, the old photograph with the mustache, alongside the headline, "French General Vanishes from Fortress." One of the lieutenants mutters in German, shaking his head. How does a 60-year-old man climb down a wall like a spider? Giraud, fluent after 2 years of German lessons, supposedly meant to help him adjust to captivity, clucks sympathetically. Perhaps he had help from inside, he offers in flawless Hochdeutsch. The officers nod, accepting this well-spoken Swiss businessman as a patriotic civilian intrigued by the scandal. Giraud buys them beers from the dining car later that evening, hiding his bandaged palms beneath a folded newspaper. He is Heinrich Schultz. He is harmless. He is invisible. For 10 days, Giraud zigzags through the Reich by train, bus, and foot, doubling back on his route to confuse trackers, switching identities at safe houses, sleeping in barns and church basements. At one checkpoint in Bavaria, Gestapo agents board his carriage and begin demanding papers from every passenger. Giraud has already engaged a young Wehrmacht officer in conversation, discussing Rommel's Africa Corps, trading opinions on tank tactics, and when the black-coated agent reaches for Giraud's documents, the lieutenant slams his newspaper down and snaps, "How dare you interrupt us? Can't you see we're talking?" The Gestapo man stiffens, apologizes, and moves on without checking Giraud's forged Swiss passport. The prey has become a shadow. At another station, guards are pulling aside tall men for additional screening. Giraud waits until his train lurches forward, then drops from the far side of the carriage onto the opposite platform, lands hard on his bad knee, and limps toward a rear car as if he simply missed his connection. A Gestapo officer helps him climb aboard, muttering about careless travelers. Giraud tips his hat in thanks. The wolf has just assisted the rabbit into the warren. April 27th, Day 10, dawn. The Swiss border lies a kilometer ahead through forested hills and one final checkpoint manned by armed sentries. Giraud's contact has vanished into a safe house. From here, the general travels alone. He follows a smuggler's trail marked by notches in tree bark, dodging German patrols by the sound of their dogs echoing through morning mist. His lungs burn. His knee screams with every step. The tree line breaks. Ahead, figures in dark uniforms raise rifles and shout.
Stop or I'll shoot!
No, the insignia is different. Swiss-German accent, not Prussian. Giraud raises his hands, identifies himself in rapid French, and waits. The Swiss commander studies the exhausted, clean-shaven man with rope burns on his palms and hollow eyes. A long moment passes. Then the officer nods. The rifles lower. Switzerland will not return him. Henri Giraud crosses the border and steps out of Hitler's reach. May 5th, 1942. After a circuitous journey under Swiss diplomatic protection, Giraud surfaces in Vichy, France. Marshal Pétain, leader of the collaborationist government, is stunned. He assumed the general was either dead or en route to a Berlin execution chamber. The Nazis demand extradition through every available channel. Vichy refuses. Time magazine covers the affair under the headline, "A Great German Embarrassment." Hitler's regime, which staked so much on its image of total control, has been humiliated by a grandfather, a rope of bedsheets, and 11 unguarded minutes. Giraud cannot resist twisting the knife. From Vichy, he sends a telegram to his wife. Business concluded. Excellent health. Affectionately, Henri. It is the exact same message he sent after escaping German captivity in 1914, 28 years earlier. Different war, same audacity. Then, according to multiple post-war accounts from French intelligence officers, he mails a brief note to Königstein's commandant thanking him for the pleasant accommodation during his stay. The German officer reportedly tears it to shreds without finishing the first sentence. For occupied France, the news lands like a thunderclap. If a 63-year-old man with a limp and a bad knee can outwit the Reich's most secure fortress, what else is possible? Resistance cells across the country report a surge in recruitment in the weeks following. The myth of Nazi invincibility cracks, hairline fractures spreading through an empire that had seemed unbreakable. Within 18 months, Giraud will work alongside the Allies, eventually co-commanding Free French forces with Charles de Gaulle during the liberation of North Africa. But those chapters come later. The legend is born here, on a cliff face, on a cable braided from garbage and hope, in the 11 minutes that no one was watching. The morning after the escape, guards searching Giraud's empty cell find a message scratched into the stone windowsill with a nail or sharpened spoon. 4 words in French: au revoir et merci, goodbye and thank you. The fortress that was supposed to hold him forever now holds only his parting punchline, carved into the rock for every future prisoner to see. Sometimes the greatest revenge is proving your enemy wrong. And if you want to see how another group of underdogs beat impossible odds, this time by escaping a Nazi dead camp hiding with Nazi uniforms, watch this story next.